Have you ever walked into a room and forgotten why you went there, or struggled to remember a name you just heard 5 seconds ago? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Memory loss does not begin at 70. It begins silently, sometimes in your 30s and 40s, at the level of your cells. And what most people don't realize is this: your brain is not just aging, it's either being repaired every night or slowly inflamed and damaged by what you eat every day. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your brain cells, your neurons, are extremely metabolically active. They require stable blood sugar, healthy fats, antioxidant protection, and proper circulation to survive. But in today's world of refined carbohydrates, seed oils, chronic stress, and poor sleep, we create the perfect storm for inflammation, insulin resistance, and oxidative damage. And when insulin resistance reaches the brain, memory begins to suffer. In fact, some researchers now refer to Alzheimer's disease as type 3 diabetes because impaired glucose metabolism in the brain directly affects memory circuits, particularly in the hippocampus. But here's the empowering part. The brain is incredibly responsive to nutrition. It has the ability to grow new connections, even new neurons, through a process called neuroplasticity. And certain foods actively stimulate this repair process. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your brain is a city. Every day, traffic flows through it, thoughts, memories, emotions. Now imagine that city without street cleaning, without road repair, without fuel delivery. Slowly, debris builds up, roads crack, signals fail. That's what inflammation and poor nutrition do to your neurons. But the right nutrients? They act like road repair crews, antioxidant shields, and fuel tankers, restoring cellular membranes, increasing blood flow, reducing inflammation, and enhancing synaptic signaling. And here's something most people miss. Much of your memory consolidation happens during sleep. So what you eat during the day directly influences how well your brain repairs itself at night. In today's video, I'm going to break down the top 5 foods that scientifically support brain cell healing, memory restoration, and long-term cognitive resilience naturally. We'll go beyond surface level advice like eat blueberries. We'll talk about the metabolic mechanisms, the hormonal context, the specific compounds involved, and exactly how and when to consume these foods for maximum benefit. Because this is not about quick hacks. This is about protecting your brain for the next 30 years. Let's begin by looking at the 6 key scientific principles you need to understand first. Let's start with the foundation. If your brain were a house, omega-3 fatty acids would be the building material in the walls. The first food that actively helps heal brain cells and restore memory is fatty, cold water fish, especially wild salmon, sardines, and mackerel. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your brain is nearly 60% fat by dry weight, but it's not just any fat. A large portion of your neuronal membranes are made from a specific omega-3 fatty acid called DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. DHA is not optional. It determines how fluid your brain cell membranes are, and membrane fluidity determines how well neurons communicate. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine 2 people trying to pass notes through a window. If the window is stiff, rusty, and stuck, communication slows down. But if the window slides open smoothly, signals pass quickly and efficiently. That window is your neuron membrane. DHA keeps that membrane flexible. When your diet is low in omega-3s and high in processed seed oils rich in omega-6 fats, membranes become rigid and inflamed. Signal transmission slows, inflammation rises, memory suffers. What the research shows is that higher blood levels of DHA are associated with improved cognitive performance and slower age-related brain shrinkage. DHA also reduces neuroinflammation by producing specialized pro-resolving mediators, compounds that actively calm inflammatory pathways in the brain. But there's another layer most people miss. Omega-3s improve insulin sensitivity in the brain. Remember earlier we talked about insulin resistance affecting memory centers? DHA helps neurons respond better to insulin, improving glucose uptake, which means better energy production inside mitochondria. And your neurons are energy-demanding cells. If they can't produce ATP efficiently, they can't maintain synapses. Now let's connect this to sleep. During deep sleep, your brain consolidates memory and performs glymphatic cleanup, clearing metabolic waste. Omega-3s reduce inflammatory debris and oxidative stress, making that cleanup process more efficient. In other words, the better your omega-3 status, the more effective your overnight brain repair. Now let's make this practical. Here's the protocol I recommend. Consume fatty fish at least 3 times per week. Aim for 1.5 to 2 grams of combined EPA and DHA daily from food or supplementation. If supplementing, choose triglyceride form omega-3s with third-party testing. Pair with a lower omega-6 intake. Reduce processed seed oils. Timing matters less than consistency, but consuming omega-3 rich meals earlier in the day may improve daytime cognitive function and support overnight recovery. If you don't eat fish, consider high-quality algae-based DHA. And here's something important. Omega-3 benefits are not immediate stimulants. They accumulate in membranes over weeks. This is structural healing, so think long-term. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post content like this every day to help you optimize your health using real physiology, not hype. Because rebuilding your brain is not about quick hacks. It's about upgrading the raw materials your neurons are made from. Now that we've rebuilt the membrane, now that we've rebuilt the structure of the neuron with omega-3s, we need to protect it. Because building a healthy membrane is one thing. Preventing it from being damaged by oxidation and inflammation is another. The second food that actively helps heal brain cells and restore memory is deeply pigmented berries, especially blueberries, blackberries, and wild blueberries. But this is not about antioxidants are good for you. It's much more specific than that. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your brain consumes about 20% of your total energy, despite being only 2% of your body weight. That high metabolic rate generates oxidative stress. Every time mitochondria produce energy, small amounts of reactive oxygen species are created. Normally, your body neutralizes them. But when blood sugar is unstable, when inflammation is high, when sleep is poor, oxidative stress overwhelms your defenses, and the hippocampus, the center of memory, is particularly vulnerable. Now, let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine sparks flying off a machine. If there's proper insulation, nothing happens. But if insulation is weak, those sparks slowly damage wiring. Oxidative stress is the spark. Anthocyanins, the deep purple pigments in berries, are part of the insulation. What the research shows is fascinating. Anthocyanins cross the blood-brain barrier. They accumulate in regions involved in learning and memory. Studies have shown improvements in cognitive performance and delayed cognitive aging in people who regularly consume berry-rich diets. But here's the key mechanism. Berries increase BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF is like fertilizer for your neurons. It stimulates synaptic growth, supports neuroplasticity, and enhances long-term potentiation, the process by which memories are formed and strengthened. Low BDNF is associated with depression, cognitive decline, and impaired learning. High BDNF improves resilience and memory consolidation, and berries naturally elevate it. There's also a metabolic angle. Berries have a low glycemic load, yet their polyphenols improve insulin sensitivity. That means better glucose handling and more stable fuel delivery to neurons. So instead of spiking blood sugar like fruit juice or refined carbs, berries protect both metabolism and memory. Now let's connect this to sleep. During deep sleep, your brain strengthens neural pathways that were activated during the day. Higher BDNF levels support this process, so if you consume berries consistently, you are priming your brain for better overnight consolidation. Now let's make this practical. Here's the protocol. 1 cup of fresh or frozen blueberries daily. Wild blueberries are even higher in anthocyanins. Add them to Greek yogurt, chia pudding, or a protein-based smoothie. Avoid pairing with high-sugar cereals. Protect insulin stability. Timing tip, earlier in the day or early afternoon, works well. You get the cognitive support without late-night sugar exposure. If you're dealing with insulin resistance, stick to half a cup and pair with protein or healthy fat to blunt glucose response. This is not about megadoses. It's about consistent exposure to protective compounds. So now we've rebuilt the neuron membrane with omega-3s, we've protected it and stimulated growth with anthocyanins. Next, we're going to talk about something different, a food that improves blood flow to the brain, enhances nitric oxide production, and directly increases oxygen delivery to memory centers. And this one surprises most people. Now we shift from protection to circulation because you can have healthy neurons. You can have low inflammation. But if blood flow to the brain is compromised, memory will still decline. The third food that helps heal brain cells and restore memory is beets. Yes, beets. And here's why this matters more than most people realize. Your brain is an oxygen-hungry organ. Neurons cannot store oxygen. They rely on constant delivery through cerebral blood flow. Even small reductions in circulation, especially to the frontal lobes and hippocampus, affect attention, recall, and processing speed. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Beets are rich in natural dietary nitrates. When you consume nitrates, bacteria in your mouth convert them into nitrites. Those nitrites are then converted into nitric oxide in the bloodstream. Nitric oxide is a signaling molecule that relaxes blood vessels. It literally tells arteries to dilate. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your brain's blood vessels are highways. If the lanes are narrow and stiff, traffic slows. But when nitric oxide widens those lanes, traffic, oxygen, glucose, nutrients flows smoothly. That increased flow means better fuel delivery, and better fuel delivery means better memory function. What the research shows is that dietary nitrate from beetroot increases cerebral blood flow, particularly to areas involved in executive function. Studies in older adults have shown improved perfusion in the frontal cortex after nitrate supplementation. But here's the deeper metabolic angle. Nitric oxide also improves mitochondrial efficiency. That means your neurons produce energy more effectively. And when mitochondria function well, oxidative stress decreases. So beets are not just improving circulation, they're improving cellular energy production. Now let's connect this to sleep. During deep sleep, your brain shifts into repair mode. Enhanced blood flow during the day supports nutrient delivery, while improved mitochondrial efficiency reduces metabolic waste accumulation. And better vascular health overall supports the glymphatic system, the brain's nighttime cleanup system. There's another benefit. Beets contain betalains, powerful antioxidant compounds that reduce inflammation and oxidative stress. So they protect while they circulate. Now let's make this practical. Here's the protocol. 1 cup of roasted beets, or 8 to 10 ounces of fresh beet juice, 3 to 4 times per week. If using beet juice, choose unsweetened. Avoid added sugars. Timing tip, consume beets 2 to 3 hours before mentally demanding tasks. Blood flow improvements peak within that window. For those concerned about blood sugar, whole roasted beets have fiber and moderate glycemic impact. Pair with protein or olive oil for stability. Important note, if you use antibacterial mouthwash constantly, you blunt nitrate conversion. The oral bacteria are part of the nitric oxide pathway, so over-sanitizing your mouth can reduce this benefit. Now pause and think about what we've built so far. We've improved membrane structure, omega-3s, antioxidant defense and BDNF, berries, cerebral blood flow and oxygen delivery, beets. But there's still a major root cause we haven't addressed: chronic inflammation and insulin resistance driven by the wrong fats. And the next food targets that directly, while stabilizing blood sugar and protecting neurons from metabolic stress. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post daily content breaking down complex physiology into practical tools. Now we address one of the biggest hidden drivers of memory decline: chronic brain inflammation driven by unstable blood sugar and poor quality fats. The fourth food that helps heal brain cells and restore memory is extra virgin olive oil, real high polyphenol olive oil, not vegetable oil, not light olive oil, true extra virgin olive oil. Here's what's really going on inside your body. When blood sugar spikes repeatedly, insulin rises. Over time, cells, including neurons, become less responsive to insulin. That creates metabolic stress inside the brain. At the same time, excess omega-6 seed oils promote inflammatory pathways through arachidonic acid metabolites. This combination creates a pro-inflammatory environment that damages synapses. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your brain cells are delicate electrical circuits. Now imagine pouring corrosive liquid over the wiring every day. The circuits still function, but slowly degrade. Inflammation is that corrosive liquid. Olive oil works differently. High quality extra virgin olive oil is rich in monounsaturated fats and polyphenols like oleocanthal. Oleocanthal has natural anti inflammatory effects similar to low dose ibuprofen, but without the gastrointestinal damage. What the research shows is that regular consumption of extra virgin olive oil is associated with improved cognitive function and reduced risk of neurodegenerative disease. The Mediterranean dietary pattern, rich in olive oil, consistently shows protective effects on memory and aging. But here's the deeper mechanism. Monounsaturated fats improve insulin sensitivity. Better insulin signaling means better glucose utilization in the brain. And remember, stable glucose delivery is essential for hippocampal function. Olive oil also reduces oxidative stress and improves endothelial function, which means better blood vessel flexibility and improved cerebral circulation. Now let's connect this to sleep. Stable blood sugar during the evening prevents nighttime cortisol spikes. When blood sugar crashes at 2 a.m., cortisol rises to compensate, disrupting deep sleep cycles. Deep sleep is where memory consolidation occurs. So when you replace inflammatory oils with olive oil and stabilize evening meals, you indirectly protect sleep-dependent memory repair. This is root cause thinking. We're not taking a memory supplement, we're fixing metabolic signaling. Now let's make this practical. Here's the protocol. 1-2 tablespoons of high polyphenol extra virgin olive oil daily. Use it raw, drizzled over vegetables, salads, or protein. Avoid cooking at very high temperatures. Replace seed oils entirely in your kitchen. Quality matters. Look for harvest date, dark glass bottle, peppery taste. That peppery sensation indicates polyphenols. If you want an advanced protocol, combine olive oil with leafy greens and fatty fish in the same meal. You amplify anti-inflammatory signaling, improve fat-soluble nutrient absorption, and support membrane repair simultaneously. So now we've improved membrane structure, antioxidant protection, blood flow, insulin sensitivity, and inflammation control. But there's one more critical piece. Your brain runs heavily on mitochondria, and mitochondria require specific micronutrients to function properly. The fifth food supports mitochondrial energy production directly and influences neurotransmitter balance tied to memory, and this one is often overlooked. Now we come to the final piece. Because you can improve structure, you can reduce inflammation, you can increase blood flow, but if your neurons cannot produce energy efficiently, memory still declines. The fifth and final food that helps heal brain cells and restore memory is pasture-raised eggs, and this one is deeply misunderstood. For years, eggs were criticized because of cholesterol. But here's what's really going on inside your body. Your brain is one of the most cholesterol-dense organs in the body. Cholesterol is essential for synapse formation. It stabilizes cell membranes and supports neurotransmitter signaling. But eggs offer something even more important: choline. Choline is the precursor to acetylcholine, one of the primary neurotransmitters involved in memory, learning, and attention. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. If your brain were a phone network, acetylcholine would be the signal carrier allowing calls to connect. Without enough choline, the signal weakens. Messages don't transmit clearly. Memory fades. What the research shows is that higher choline intake is associated with better cognitive performance and lower risk of cognitive decline. Many people are actually deficient in choline because modern diets have reduced egg consumption. But there's more. Egg yolks also contain lutein and zeaxanthin, carotenoids that accumulate in the brain and reduce oxidative stress. These compounds are linked to improved processing speed and neural efficiency. And let's not forget vitamin B12 and B6, essential for methylation and homocysteine control. Elevated homocysteine is associated with brain atrophy and cognitive decline. Eggs provide the raw materials for neurotransmitter production, membrane stability, mitochondrial energy, and antioxidant protection. Now let's connect this to sleep. During sleep, your brain consolidates acetylcholine-dependent memories, especially REM-associated learning. Adequate choline intake during the day supports this nighttime process. If you're low in choline, that overnight consolidation becomes less efficient. So this isn't just about daytime focus, it's about nighttime repair. Now let's make this practical. Here's the protocol. 2 whole pasture-raised eggs daily. Do not discard the yolk. Pair with olive oil or avocado for stable blood sugar. Avoid pairing with refined carbohydrates. If you're insulin resistant, prioritize a protein-forward breakfast. This stabilizes glucose for the entire day, protecting cognitive function. And if you do not eat eggs, consider alternative choline sources like liver or a high-quality choline supplement. Now let's step back and look at the full picture. We've addressed structural membrane repair with omega-3s, antioxidant defense and BDNF stimulation with berries, cerebral blood flow enhancement with beets, inflammation and insulin stabilization with olive oil, neurotransmitter and mitochondrial support with eggs. This is not a memory hack. This is cellular rebuilding, because memory loss is rarely about age alone. It's about metabolic stress, inflammation, and nutrient deficiency, slowly impairing communication between neurons. When you correct those inputs, the brain often responds. So here's your challenge. Don't try to implement everything at once. Choose one of these foods, add it consistently for 30 days. Track your focus, track your recall, track your sleep quality. Let your physiology show you the difference. Because the goal is not just better memory, it's long-term cognitive resilience, energy, clarity, longevity. Your brain can heal, but only if you give it the raw materials. If this added value to your life, like the video and subscribe to join others optimizing their health naturally. I'll see you in the next one.